So, hello everyone, good afternoon. I hope everyone is able to hear as well as see me. So, if you could confirm me that we will be starting the session. Hope if everyone can see as well as hear me, just let me know. If you could confirm me that we will be starting the session. Okay, very good then. So guys, before we start today's session, so as a part of the science and technology discussion that we've taken, which we have started about few days ago, we will be continuing with respect to the next topic under the science and technology, and that is going to be the defense technology today. But before we start with the concept related to the defense technology, there is something which I would like to let you know, that if you have not downloaded an Academy learning app, please do download it, and where you would be having different kind of courses by various educators and all. And with this, we also have an Academy Plus subscription which is offered in two different kind of methods. One is through the general subscription of UPSC CSE, where you would have access to different kind of things. But the interesting fact we have here is this: you will have the live classes, you'll be having the polls, you'll have leaderboard, you'll have live doubt solving sessions, and a great interaction too. So you could subscribe to an Academy using this referral code, which is basically highlighted. So, and apart from that, you would also be having iconic subscription, where you would have a personal coach who would take care of you in different kind of situations, where they help you in your preparation and all. So for getting access to any of these, you could join an Academy using the referral code which is highlighted here, so that you would be able to get a discount of 10% off on the Academy Plus subscription. So before we start the topic of the day, so you could use this code, and apart from that, so using the Unacademy application, you could attend the free special classes also. And there are the free test series which are being conducted by the Unacademy, where every month you would be having 4 tests related to the Aspire, especially for the UPSC. You could join and attend any of them at free of cost. You could use this code as a kind of unlock code, and you could join them also. You could attend those particular tests also. As I said you, that 4 tests will be conducted every month. So on 10th, 17th, 25th and 30th. So this is about the CSAT, and 30th of November you will be having the CSAT. Apart from the CSAT test, you would also be having the general test of the GS1, I mean the first paper of the UPSC Prelims would also be conducted on 5th, 10th, 25th and 30th of every month too. So that is something which I would just like to mention before we start the session about the brand of an Academy, which is offering you a great services in fact. So today's topic that I would be starting is related to the area called defense technology. So this will be presented by me, Ajay Kumar Muchakurthi. And what is this? When it comes to the defense technology, in the recent past, you all must have seen very well about how the domain has been changed. The way the defense allocation is being made. Of every single allocation that is being made by the finance ministry in the budget, you could see a great change that is being coming. You could see a great change that is happening in fact, about how the defense is making a huge impact, where the defense is getting a huge allotment through that. So defense technology is something, a very important area that we have to focus on. Because the advanced technologies that we are coming up, the recent changes, so all these would be taken. And this session on defense technology would be taken in 2 parts. And today it is going to be part 1. Okay, tomorrow at the same time, we will be having the part 2 also. Now, today we will look into the core concept of the defense technology and all. And tomorrow it would be the most recent upgrades, whatever happened, we will be taking about them. Before we start the session today on the defense technology, we have to understand about some important things here. And the first and the foremost thing is this: who is the supreme commander of this particular armed forces? When it comes to this, we all knew very well that it is the President of India, right? So, but the point is, the President of India, will he make any kind of policy changes? Definitely. Right, definitely it's not possible. The point is, because we have a dedicated ministry which would be looking into these kind of policy things. So that is the point that we have to focus on. Even though the supreme commander of armed forces is the President of India, where he would be looking into various kind of things, where he would be bringing up certain kind of things, where he is the one who commands the armed forces about what is to be done. But still, the responsibility of the national defense will be on the Ministry of Defense. Nothing but the armed forces are the one would actually play a very, very important role. So any kind of policy change, any kind of policy matter which is supposed to be taken, that would be taken by the Ministry of Defense, and they are the one who would coordinate with the different kind of agencies, different kind of bodies of the government which are related to the national security as well as the armed forces. If you look into this, the highest allocation these days in the recent past is going to, in the union budget, is going to the Ministry of Defense. And also, India's position keeps changing. It was fifth some time ago. It increased to fourth. It came to third also. When it comes to the allocation that we are making for the defense, it is increasing on a year by year on an incremental manner. And what are the different departments do we have under the Ministry of Defense? When you talk about the different kind of departments, we do have the Department of Defense, Defense Production, Defense Research, Ex-Servicemen Welfare. And are these only departments? Definitely not. Why? A department called Department of Military Affairs has been created. And this Department of Military Affairs is headed by none other than the Chief of Defense Staff, which is a new department which has been created under the Ministry of Defense. So that is something with respect to them. Now the DRDO, one of the very, very, very prominent organization which has helped us a lot, not just in the defense related things, not just in defense research and development of arms and ammunition, but DRDO has been playing a very important role. Even during the COVID time, DRDO has done a great job. By the way, in Delhi they have constructed a huge hospitals within hours of time, which clearly shows the kind of dedication that they are making for the serving of the nation. So this DRDO is one of the very, very, very prominent organization, and that works under the Department of Defense Research. It was formed in the year 1958, where they will deal with the different kind of areas here. They will deal with aeronautics, electronics, land combating. They will deal with the life sciences, materials, missiles and whatnot, different kind of things. It has about 5,000 scientists working under that, and like a lot of other people would be there. Now when it comes to this area, when I say defense, definitely people think about rockets and all, right? So here we would start our introduction when it comes to this area called a missile. So what is a missile? In general, a missile is one certain kind of thing. It is a rocket propelled weapon. Nothing but a rocket propelled weapon. What is the purpose of a missile? When we talk about the purpose of a missile, the purpose of a missile is very clear. An explosive weapon has to go and hit a particular target, and that has to be destructed. This is something which is very clear. And the range of this would go anywhere. We could stay some 100 feet to thousands of miles. We know, for example, we talk about intercontinental ballistic missiles, right? We talk about different missiles with different ranges. So there are missiles which could be used to attack just outside our border. There are missiles which could be used, which could be attacked in the country in other continent. So we have types of missiles also. I'll talk about guided missiles as we go further. But when you come towards dividing the missiles into types, I would just name them as two kinds, like cruise missile and the ballistic missile. So this is a very, very, very important difference, and there are chances that this sort of things could be asked in the preliminary examination. When it comes to the cruise and when it comes to the ballistic, the cruise missile is one certain kind of thing which would be done in the low atmosphere. But when it comes to the ballistic missile, it is not that way. Okay, that would be going out of the atmosphere, and they would also use a kind of a gravitational pull and follow a parabolic path. So I'll go in details of all these as we go further today. Now, how are these traveling? What is the speed of them? Here we have a very important concept called as Mach speed. We call it as Mach speed. That is nothing but speed of sound. So Mach speed, 1 Mach is equals to 343 meters per second or 1235 kilometers per hour or 767 miles per hour. We could categorize it in this way. Now, I said you that we would be classifying in better way between the cruise missiles and the ballistic missiles. A cruise missile or a ballistic missile, both are unmanned without any doubt. But the cruise missile is a guided missile where you would be having a guidance system where you would be guiding this about where to attack and all. It would be having a better aircraft propulsion system, and it won't go outside the atmosphere, rather it would be in the atmosphere. And the most important thing that would be doing is that it would be very close to the surface of earth. The major purpose why is it close to the surface of earth is because it don't want to be detected by the radar. That is a major reason why the cruise missiles are really tough to be detected. And the interesting fact is this: they could carry the payload with a great precision without any doubt, and you categorize depending upon the speed of this particular missiles, you categorize them into subsonic, supersonic and hypersonic cruise missiles. For example, some time ago there was a missile called Avangard. Avangard was there, which is of Russia. So that is a hypersonic cruise missile. So what are these and how are you going to categorize them? For example, this is the kind of cruise missile which is launched from a specific flight. Now going further, what is a subsonic? Subsonic, I said you, 1 Mach speed is basically to is something indicating you a sonic. So subsonic is nothing but which is less than the speed of sound. So the speed could be 0.8 Mach. And the example for this is definitely a missile called Nirbhay. Nirbhay is one certain kind of missile which is designed and developed by the DRDO, where they can take the general warheads which could cause destruction, and it can also be carrying the nuclear warheads also between 300 to 400 kg. Right now it is undergoing some kind of field trials, we could say, which is weighing about 1500 kg. That's a different story. Okay, so that is number one about subsonic cruise missile. And with respect to each and every missile system that we have, we'll be talking in detail as we go further about that. Okay, you don't have to worry about it. So what am I doing right now is to focus on certain basic things so that you would know the importance of different things. That's it. Okay, now we'll be moving further to the next one. Supersonic. Subsonic is done. Next is supersonic, which is definitely indicating more than the speed of sound. It could be 2 to 3 Mach. So you could use the supersonic cruise missiles on the warships. You could use them in the submarines, in the aircrafts, and even in the autonomous launchers also. For example, the BrahMos that we keep talking about. Do remember, sometimes you may be confused here. The BrahMos missile which we are talking about is a cruise missile. It's not a ballistic missile, it's a cruise missile. And BrahMos is actually a supersonic cruise missile where it has 2 stages. Now for every kind of space launch vehicle, for example, be it PSLV, be it GSLV. For example, when we are launching PSLV, it is a 4-stage vehicle. When we are launching GSLV, it's a 3-stage vehicle. So why do we have different stages? These stages will actually support them to attain greater speed, to go to much more extremes. That is a major purpose. Now so is the case here. The 2-stage missile I said, so it has 2 parts in particular, where the first stage would actually try to give it more speed, like it would try to give you a supersonic speed, and after attaining that, the first part would get separated. Then the second stage would take the speed. So supersonic could be anywhere. It could be 2 Mach, it could be 1.5 Mach above the speed, na? So then the second stage would take it close to 3 Mach. So this is something which could be done under this area of supersonic cruise missiles. Okay, hope you got some better idea about subsonic and supersonic. Then we'll move to the hypersonic also as we go further. But when it comes to this one, when we are talking about BrahMos, it has a flight range of up to 290 kilometers. It has a very clear fire and forget principle. You don't have to worry about it. Just fire it and you can forget. and it goes at a very very greater speed, so you won't be able to find that so easily. Accuracy would be really very well, and we have been doing that and implemented in different kind of methods also. In the ship based weapon, on the land based weapon, we have already tested that. For example, this is the BrahMos that we talk about. In general, we often see it in the Republic Day parades and Independence Day parades, that the armed forces would be showcasing this to the world. Now, the last one that we'll be taking under the cruise missiles is hypersonic, which would be more than 5 Mach. It could be 10 Mach, it could be 20 Mach also, we could call it a hypersonic only. So many countries are working on that. Even India is working on BrahMos 2, which is under the development as of now. So this is all about the cruise missiles. So I'm dealing with the cruise missiles first, then I'll deal with the ballistic, and then we'll try to look at the differences between both of them once. Okay, so this is about the cruise. Then we'll move to the next one. A ballistic missile is that. So what has happened in the cruise missile? It was very simple. Like if there is a person called A standing on the hill here. Okay, there's a person called A standing on a hill. There is a person B here on the nearby the foothills. Now, if I want to attack him with a cruise missile, I would directly hit him like this. This is something which would be done with the support of a cruise missile. But if I want to attack him through a ballistic missile, rather than directly shooting him, the person A here and the B here is there now. So the person A would shoot that into the sky. After reaching a particular point, the warhead would be disconnected and this would freely fall onto this particular place. So in this way, it will follow a parabolic path. Okay, so this is how you find these missiles. We consider them as ballistic. So projectile, here whatever you are seeing here is a projectile one. Once you launch it, you cannot change, you cannot guide it. So you directly launch into the higher layers particular. So this would be one which would be traveling outside the atmosphere, and after reaching to some particular place, the warhead would get separated and it would be falling back to the earth. And now, what is the difference between this? Is it really advantageous compared to the cruise missiles? The good thing that you have when it comes to ballistic missiles is this: it can take a warhead of a very huge and heavy payload. Number one, it could take a very huge payload, and it could be launched from the ships, it could be launched from the land also. That is something which could be done when it comes to the ballistic missiles. So I would just show you some ballistic missiles that we have. We will have a discussion on all of them as we go further. For example, the short range ballistic missiles are those which could be helpful for us to attacking between 300 kilometers to 1000 kilometers range. The examples are Prithvi 1, 2, 3 and Dhanush. Then we have medium range 1000 to 3500, we call them as Shaurya. Intermediate range 3500 to 5500, like Agni 2, 3 and 4. And intercontinental is something beyond 5500 kilometers, that is Agni 5. And we also have submarine launched ballistic missiles called Sagarika. We will be looking into all of these particular missiles, you don't have to worry. So this is based on the range you have categorized some missiles, and these are the ballistic missiles. But now I'll talk about a different kind of method, how you classify the missiles based on the target and based on where are you launching from. So that's the reason how you can consider them surface to surface. When we are actually attacking from surface to other surface, that's called surface to surface. Surface to air, for example, if missile is coming up, anti-ballistic missile is an example of surface to air. Air to air, from air to surface, some sea to the surface at the coastal area, from coastal to the sea to sea, and anti-tank. We have different kind of these missiles which could be doing a great job for us, and this could actually help us in dealing with majority of the things too. Okay, now apart from that, apart from this particular things, so having understood them about the different kind of things, we have to look into one of the very interesting story that we have. We all knew very well that Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam is called as the Missile Man of India. No one would get a name like that so easily. There is a small story behind that. So India has been a developing nation right from the independence after 1947. We have not been a developed nation, in fact we have been a developing nation. And the way we have been growing, the way we have been taking it a further step, it has been like very tough job in fact. And India reached out to different kind of countries for the procurement of variety of technologies, for the development of missiles and all. But unfortunately, India was not that successful in getting them. When we are not that successful, we have got some people like Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. He is the one, with the support of the entire different agencies, have got and developed the missiles within the country. So this program has been created called Integrated Guided Missile Development Program, which is managed by the DRDO and the Ordnance Factory Boards. It was started in the year 1982-83 under the leadership of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. And one of the biggest problem that we always had before he took over this kind of thing, the biggest problem we had was that every agency, every laboratory which used to be there used to function in their own method. There was no collaboration. There's no any kind of friendship or certain kind of thing. So that has become a problem. So through the Integrated Guided Missile Development Program, it indicates Integrated Guided Missile Development Program, many laboratories, many government departments, industries, academic institutions, all of these have been brought together to develop 4 different kind of missiles called Prithvi, Agni, Trishul and Akash and Nag. This is how we have done. And finally, after creating this, we were able to successfully do them. And in the year 2008, the DRDO has announced that the program of Integrated Guided Missile Development Program is done. It is completed. So this is an announcement made by the DRDO. Then we'll look into the next part. We know that a missile is coming from this place and going to attack this place. So which means there is a chance that we are going to be suffering. The missile has to be taken care. So this missile has to be attacked. So that could be done with what is it called anti-ballistic missile. Anti-ballistic missile is something which would be used to actually attack it. And here, how do we know that? Do we have to keep looking into the sky to see if there is any missile coming up? No. So you would be using what is it called a radar. A radar is one certain kind of device which keeps emitting the electromagnetic signals in all the directions all the time. When it is emitting the electromagnetic signals in all the directions all the time, if there is anything coming in between, it would actually reflect those particular things and it would give you an information that something is coming on our way. It gives you very clear information that something is coming on our way. So that's how you can understand about it. So anti-ballistic missile is, now the missile is coming from here, and if I want to hit it, I have to hit from the ground, right? So anti-ballistic missile is something which is going to be a surface to air missile. I don't think there is a doubt here. It is a surface to air missile, and the purpose of that is very clear. We want to counter the ballistic missiles, and the ballistic missiles could be nuclear, biological or chemical too. But how will it function? Right, that's an important part. You may say, sir, you may say anything, you may say whatever the thing you want, that this will function this way, this will function this way. But the point is this, how will this function really? That is there any possibility that we could do something for that? So when it comes to that particular case, yes. This is a very clear example of how this would function. I want all of you to take a minute for this and look into this. Just have a look at the picture please for a minute. Just to have a look at the picture for a minute please. That's very important. So what is happening here, I'll tell you. See, it's just a representation. It is not that we are using, India is using it. It's just to show a kind of representation about how the thing's done. If a missile is launched, a tremendous heat would be released. The heat that is being coming out would be generally detected by the early warning satellites, because we do have early warning satellites, Earth observation satellites. So these would be, the early warning satellites would be detecting that particular heat. Now, once the heat is detected here, that heat once it is detected, so that would be allowed, and the radar would have an immediate focus on that. If you could see, the radars would be focusing on that. So once the radar focus that and identify that, so immediately the other country which is there would be focusing on launching an anti-ballistic missile, and that would go and hit the target here. So this is how everything could be done. So that is one way how this could be taken up. Right, very good. So this is how the anti-ballistic missiles could be there. Now the point is, do we have anti-ballistic missiles? Does India have anti-ballistic missiles? So when it comes to this particular question, a very important answer that we have to take in care, a very important answer is this: definitely yes, India do have. And whatever the anti-ballistic missile that we have has been developed indigenously, and it has its own integrated radars, it has its own indigenous missiles. In the year 2006, India has successfully conducted the Prithvi air defense exercise, and we were able to successfully intercept the Prithvi 2, which clearly shows that we have developed the anti-ballistic missile technology, and perhaps India is the fourth nation in the world after US, Russia and Israel to have this. If you could see that, India is fourth nation in the world to have this particular technology after US, Russia and Israel. Then in 2007, they have done Advanced Air Defense Missile System. In 2014, they have done Prithvi Defense Vehicle. Then in 2016, they have done Advanced Defense Interceptor Missile. Ashwin was also launched. So they have launched different kind of things which will be taking it. Right? All these are on one side here. These are the traditional things. But do we have any other kind of weapons? Definitely it is very proud. Definitely, Shubham. Definitely a proud thing that we have. Now, what are the different kind of things? Are we just supposed to talk only of this kind of traditional missiles? Don't we have any others? So when it comes to that kind of scenario, we have to do something for that. And yes, we do have, what is it called, the two different kind of things called chemical weapons and biological weapons. There are people who would even consider now COVID-19 as a biological weapon, isn't it? So that is a kind of scenario it is also prevalent too. So when we are going on these kind of things, so here we will be talking about what is it called, chemical weapons. So what is a chemical weapon? So it's a kind of a chemical. The purpose of the chemical is that to just cause a harm to the people through its toxic properties. So they are designed in that way to weaponize the toxic chemicals. So we do have some weapons of mass destruction. We have some weapons which we call them as weapons of mass destruction. The examples for that are CBRN. Please do remember a very, very important thing. CBRN stands for chemical, biological, radiological and nuclear. CBRN. These are the four different kind of weapons which could actually be seen so simple, but the damage it could cause is very, 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 very massive. Now the point is it okay? Is it fine that we continue to have these kind of weapons? So to deal with that particular thing, the governments in the world have come across with a convention called Chemical Weapons Convention. Chemical Weapons Convention is something which has been brought. So this Chemical Weapons Convention is that has to be taken care, which says the chemical weapons has to be thrown out. So here we have an organization called OPCW, Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons. it is the implementing body of the Chemical Weapons Convention. So this Chemical Weapons Convention says very clearly that the production, stockpiling, use of chemical weapons and any of their precursors is completely wrong. We should not do that. This is something which they have mentioned. And yes, what they have done is absolutely true here, because we should not have these kind of things. It is definitely not good. It is definitely not good. It will cause a tremendous destruction. So the countries have decided we should actually outlaw them totally. So this has entered into force in the year 1997. Now, the Chemical Weapons Convention makes very clear they prohibit the usage, development, production, stockpiling and transfer of any of the chemical weapons too. And if there are any kind of chemical weapons production facilities are there, you have to completely destroy this. This is also other thing that they will be talking about. They say very clearly, if you have any production facilities, destroy them. This is how they deal with. And what do we need here is international cooperation. But do we have, India, does we have the chemical weapons? When it comes to this, people may think India doesn't have chemical weapons, but you will be wrong if you think India doesn't have. In fact, India does have the chemical weapons in the year 1997. We actually have declared this is the amount of stock of chemical weapons we have. We declared it openly to them. And how much is that? We have 1044 tons of sulfur mustard. (1,044 tons of sulfur mustard. That is something which has been found. And India declared it very well. And by 2005, India is one among the 6 nations which has declared that this is the amount of chemical weapons we have. And we also, India is the only nation to meet its deadline for the chemical weapons destruction, and the inspection was also done by the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons. And in 2009, India informed to the UN that we have destroyed the 100% of a stockpile of the chemical weapons. That is something which Indian government has done, and definitely a great step towards leading to the peace and removing what is it called the defense issues and all. So in short, what will the Chemical Weapons Convention say, or what will it do? One thing is very clear. They say destroy all the existing chemical weapons with the international verification. Now they will keep an eye on chemical industry to prevent that they don't have to come back. They want to promote international cooperation. But let's say, for example, if there is a country which has completely removed the chemical weapons, but if there is any other country which has chemical weapons and if they attack us, right, that's a point. We have some concerns. So that's the reason why the Organization for the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons would provide assistance and protect those particular states which have been ratified this particular threat. So this is what about the chemical weapons we have. Then biological weapon. See, a biological weapon need not be very huge. A biological weapon need not be very different. Rather, it could be very simple, which cannot even be seen by a naked eye. It could be one certain kind of thing which cannot be even seen by a naked eye. So that's the reason we call biological weapons as germ weapons also. So anything, be it a bacteria, virus, fungi or any other biological agent, if that is used as a weapon against the humans, animals or plants, and if that is a part of weapons of mass destruction, this is definitely a wrong thing. They are the biological weapons. And we also do have a convention called as Convention on the Prohibition of Development, Production and Stockpiling of the Bacteriological and Toxin Weapons on their destruction. And perhaps this is the first treaty which has banned the development, production and stockpiling of the entire category of weapons of mass destruction which came into force in the year 1975. Now you may ask me, sir, then prior to this you have talked about Chemical Weapons Convention. Yes, you are right in this doubt, but the point is this is the first treaty. Why? Because the Chemical Weapons Convention is something which came into force in the year, it was like very long ago in the year 1997. But when it comes to this particular thing, the biological weapons, it is in the year 1975. So this makes it the first multilateral disarmament treaty about that. For example, people are saying coronavirus could be a biological weapon. Yes, I'm not denying that. Yes, it could be. Again, it's not 100%. It could be or it may not be. Then what do we have is a biological weapons convention. So it says very clearly, at any kind of circumstances, no country is supposed to acquire the biological weapons or retain the biological weapons. If you have any, you have to destroy them or you have to divert them for the peaceful usage, like you have to use for medical research and all. You cannot transfer or you cannot help any other nations which wants to retain the biological weapons. And all the measures are supposed to be taken to implement the provisions of Biological Weapons Convention domestically, and they will consult bilaterally and multilaterally to solve any problems with respect to that. They would request the United Nations Security Council to look into the breaches if anyone is doing. They will also help the countries to expose, if anyone is going to be getting a danger of that, they would help the countries in that, and ultimately the peaceful use of biology has to be promoted and all. So this is about the Biological Weapons Convention. So now, before we go for the further part of the topic, I just would like to let you all know that every day at 7:30 p.m. you would be having a T20 daily current affairs test series on an academy, and you would be able to access that with the code. And apart from that, you have different kind of groups of an academy on the YouTube as well as on the Telegram. You can join any of them, and you have various batch courses going on for the Unacademy subscription too. You can join any of these using the subscription, and you could use the referral code which I have already given you. I'm writing it once again here. It's Ajay MYT 10. So this is the referral code which you could actually use, to get a 10% of discount. Right. I would definitely look into that, Priyank. We already have taken few sessions, Priyank, in the same course. So you can just have a look at that. Okay, so I think I've already given a kind of update about this already. So then we have, you could use this code which is highlighted here to get a discount of 10%, and you could install the Unacademy application and attempt the Aspire quizzes and Aspire test also, which will be taken 4 times a month. You will be getting a lot of prizes for that and all. So that is about this particular thing. Yes, Priyank, as I said you already, that we already have given created this particular thing. You can just have a look at this. If there is any playlist, I'll definitely give you that. And in this group, you could also find the videos which I have taken, so you would be able to see it. Now, moving on to the next one. 1 second, guys, please. So now we'll talk about India's ballistic missiles. So when you just have a look at this, please do have a look at this. It can show you different kind of weapons. Please do have a look at this. It shows you what are the different kind of missiles, and you compare that with the number. For example, if you can see number 1, and what would be the range of that, it would be like very, very close. It is just 150 kilometers. Okay, if you are doing this from here, let's imagine, you could see from 6th, for example, Agni 2, it is 2000 plus kilometers. So which means this is the region which could be covered by Agni 2. If you could see this very well, if you could go for Agni 3, it can cover up to here. If you could see Agni 4, it can cover up to here. And yes, Agni 5, it can cover almost this part of the world. It's definitely a huge. So that's why you call them as intercontinental ballistic missiles. So this is about the different kind of ballistic missiles. So now we will be looking into these particular missiles now. So firstly, our topic would be related to what is it called, the Prithvi missiles. The point I would like to mention very clearly about Prithvi missiles is that these are the surface to surface short range ballistic missiles. We have Prithvi 1, Prithvi 2 and Prithvi 3 missiles. So these are the missiles, like most of the missiles that we have in India's arsenal are the Prithvi missiles. And they are mostly for the range anywhere. Like, we have done a great improvement from Prithvi 1 to Prithvi 3, where Prithvi 1 was just up to 150 kilometers, Prithvi 3 is up to 50 kilometers. And earlier, if we could also look into that, like Prithvi 1, when we talk about it, it has just a liquid engine. But as we went on to solid. So what is the difference it could be? In the space technology, if you talk about, we do have liquid propulsion, we do have solid propulsion. The solid propulsion could actually help you to attain a greater speed. In a very short span of time. That is the importance of what is it called, this particular thing, you could, with the support of solid propulsion. But when it comes to liquid propulsion, it is not going to be that easy. So we have developed from something which is not that much fast to something which is much faster. A great change we have actually brought. So I'll try to focus on important points only. You don't have to know what is the length, what is the weight and all. So just I will tell you the major things. So Prithvi 1 is a short range liquid propulsion. Please do note, short range and liquid propulsion ballistic missile. India started development in 1983. It has a single stage liquid propulsion engine and it has two motors which are there side by side too. It allows the missile to stop climbing when it reaches an altitude up to 30 kilometers. After that, it would stop going much further, and from there it would actually go horizontally and they would go and hit the target at a degree of 80 degrees angle. It has a minimum range of 40 and maximum of 150. These are the important points. You don't have to get into other things. So officially the test flight was done in 1988 and officially entered into service in 94. So there are many successful tests have been done. That's the second stage. So that is Prithvi 1. Then we'll move to the Prithvi 2. It is also a short range and it was first tested in 96. It also uses a single stage liquid propulsion engine where it has a range of up to 250 kilometers it could go. Prithvi 2 was originally tested for about 350 kilometers. They could say some kind of major upgrades could be made too. But however, that did not happen. And yes, there is a possibility that Prithvi 2 can take a warhead of up to 500 kg to a distance of 250 kilometers. But the point is, if I want to take a heavy warhead, for example of 1000 kg, then I could reduce the distance to 150. We know very well, right? When you carry something which is heavy, it has to go and when it is going, it was not going to be that much. So that is the other thing that you will be seeing here. Okay, then the primary warheads are nuclear warhead. It can carry explosive and also some kind of sub ammunition too. So this is something which could have been doing a great job too. Then we have is next one, that is Prithvi 3. It is a short range too, and the point here, the major difference is that Prithvi 1 and 2 are a single stage, but this is the two stage, number 1. And Prithvi 1 and 2 are liquid propulsion. This is a solid propulsion. And it could go up to a range of 350 kilometers. And the longest ranged member of the Prithvi is this. It was mostly designed as a tactical weapon against Pakistan and China. And it is been intended to a sea-launched ballistic missile. But we also have a Dhanush missile, so it was not that way. So this is something which we have when it comes to Prithvi 1, 2 and 3 missiles, which are very important, and the huge arsenal of Prithvi is present with respect to the Indian Defence Forces. Then we also need to launch some missiles from submarines sometimes. So we have submarine launched ballistic missiles. This program has been started in 1990s, but it was completely in a secret. So we have Sagarika and Shaurya. These are the two important things. So Sagarika is one certain kind of thing which has a range of 700 kilometers. It has a two-stage solid propulsion. It can have a launch weight of 5,500 kg to 6,300 kg. Its short range would actually make it very, very important that we would be able to hit China. We'll be able to hit China if we are launching from the South China Sea much easily. Understood? That is the importance of Sagarika. When it comes to Shaurya, people thought when the Shaurya was being tested on the land, so people thought it is going to be a land version of what is it called Sagarika. But this has also taken up the undersea launch in 2014 and it has done a great job in that also. So it is something, it can actually take a nuclear warhead and all. That is something which it could do. Okay, so it is like a kind of expanded range. It could go up to 3000 kilometers, something which the people have been planned about. Then we have is Nirbhay. The point to be noted here is this. It is India's first indigenously produced cruise missile. Indigenously produced cruise missile. It is a long range, all-weather subsonic cruise missile designed and developed by DRDO. Can be launched from different platforms. It can carry both conventional as well as nuclear warheads. Currently, it has gone under trials as of now. It can go with a speed of 0.65 Mach with a range of 800 to 1000 kilometers. That is Nirbhay. It has the GPS. It has an active radar terminal seeker. It could be improved much more too as we go further. And the first test flight of Nirbhay was done in 2013, but it did not go well. But the second test has been conducted in 2014, which was a very, very successful thing with a range of about 1000 kilometers. That is something which Nirbhay has been able to do. Then we have is Dhanush. It is also a short range ship-based ballistic missile. In one way you could say it is equal to the Prithvi in the sea. That's it, a simple way. The Prithvi 3 in fact you could say. Okay, so what happens now? Which means it can take conventional as well as nuclear warheads. Payload it could take 500 to 1000. Range is 350 kilometers. It is something which could be used as an anti-ship weapon where we could hit the targets from the from the sea to the land also. Okay, so that is about these particular things. So now we are left with Agni 1, Agni 2, Agni 3, Agni 4 and Agni 5. Then we'll talk about S-400 air defense system. Okay, then we have what is a scramjet engine. Okay, after that we'll talk about smart test, and finally we have K-missile family and Rudrams. So this is what we'll be taking up for the discussion tomorrow. And before we go any further today, I just would like to let you all know about the Unacademy Plus subscription once again, that it is a very important platform guys and you could use it a lot. In fact, like you would attend any kind of test every month. You have 4 aspire tests in the GS as well as in the case of CSAT also. You can attend them at free of cost by using the code which has been very clearly mentioned. You could use this code to attend them at free of cost, and also for taking the plus subscription you can use it to get 10% off discount. So that's all for the day, and I will be ending it, and we'll be continuing the remaining part tomorrow exactly at 2 p.m. So be live at this time. Take care. Have a great day.